Welcome to the show, Laurence. Thank you so much for your time for being here with us today.
Thank you very much, Karen, for inviting me, and very happy to be present today.
All right, let's jump right in. So first of all, tell us briefly about your journey before founding the startup and how did that pave the way for where you are today?
So I'm a graduate from a French school which is called Polytechnique. So I decided to become an entrepreneur, and especially in the energy transition. And from the very beginning, I saw, and this was 12 years back, and 12 years back, I saw that within the energy transition, there was a need for hydrogen as a new energy vector in order to achieve zero carbon economies, which is what we're aiming for due to climate change. And so I started a first company to target the deployment of hydrogen. So our
Mm.
first engagement was to plan hydrogen infrastructure. By doing that, of course, you're part of a network, you're part of a community, and that provides other ideas. So I also created another company because I saw a gap in the market, which was the lack of small refueling infrastructure, which would be self-sufficient, which would be producing their hydrogen and being able to allow for the deployment of the first hydrogen vehicles. So I created this company. And sometime after, I also realized that very large hydrogen infrastructure would be coming to produce green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is something which we all talk about, but the reality of what green hydrogen truly is only emerged 1 year and a half ago in Europe. So there was a law that was published, and subsequently a similar law in the US to describe what green hydrogen is. And it says that to produce green hydrogen, you need to produce it from renewable energy, but you need to reconcile on an hourly basis the renewable energy production with your hydrogen production. So basically, if it's dark and you're producing hydrogen from solar, you are producing zero green hydrogen. And so realizing that challenge and realizing that a lot of people were putting billions on the tables in order to build hydrogen infrastructure, then I saw that again there was a gap in the market, which was the tools to effectively operate these future green hydrogen infrastructure in line with the regulation that was just set in Europe and in the US.
Yeah, so you have been in hydrogen sector for quite some years, right? If I got it right, it was 12 years ago you already stepped in. So
Yeah.
basically you slowly build up the network and your understanding of this sector, then be able to discover the pain points, the problem that you want to solve. So why the name Hyggle? I mean, hydrogen and Google. Do you want to build kind of like a search engine, something related to search marketplace for hydrogen?
No, in fact, what I like in Google is the fact that you have a suite of products and you can navigate from one product to the other. So each product is very targeted. So you have an agenda, you have Gmail, the photos. Of course, it's because they acquired companies as well. But it's so the structure is that you can navigate through a suite of targeted products that do exactly what you want, but data flows through the product. So you have your data, and your data populates algorithms that are deployed in the individual products. So typically you receive an email with an invitation to go to a restaurant at a certain time, and then that goes to your agenda, the location. You can drive to the location, you can answer to the person. And of course, because of this flow of information with AI, you can even optimize this. So you can say, hey, look for a better restaurant in the vicinity of what was offered preferred, that is more compliant with my tastes, and so the Gemini will do it. So this is the inspiration. The second inspiration is the quality of Google. It never bugs. So at least this is my experience as a user. So when I think of Google, I think of something that is super cyber secure. So your data is protected. There are security measures. It's a lot of tests that they do to secure your data. And in case you lose your phone, you lose your laptop, there would be a protection means set up by Google to protect your data. And the fact that it's very robust as a product. And so we're working in the industry because hydrogen, compared to a power recharging unit, it's really an industrial process. It's an industrial process, and a lot of people are afraid of hydrogen, that it will explode. So if you bring a tool, a software, a platform onto hydrogen infrastructure, I think something that you really want is a platform that is A, robust, and B, secure. And this is so what we wanted to take from the Google experience. So the fact that it comprises several products, you can navigate throughout, building on the same data sets. So you can see behind me, we present things as a platform because it's Industry 4.0. So all the layers corresponds to products, but they are all interconnected layers that tap into the same data set, which is infrastructure data, power market data, etc. And all of that within an experience targeted at robustness and cybersecurity.
It's interesting that you mentioned this similar to ecosystem effect of Google, right? They basically, each product inside is interconnected with each other. They very much take advantage on their ecosystem effect. The more data they collect, more data they fit into other product that they are building. So it's kind of avalanche snowball. You are growing more, bigger and bigger. So that's very much you are targeting to build in hydrogen industry. All right. Since you have been in hydrogen industry for quite some years, so per your view, what is the biggest inefficiency in green hydrogen production today, and how does your technology fix it?
So first to say that there is hardly any green hydrogen production unit already in place. So we are really at the beginning of this journey. One of the reasons was that the equipment itself, so we need to produce with power to gas technology. So the electrolyzer that is able to convert electricity to hydrogen is a maturing technology. So it used to exist at a very small scale, but now we're asking this technology to scale. And that is the first challenge. And then the second challenge is, of course, in the planning and management of the sourcing in line with what customers demand. So often today in green hydrogen is demanded by industrial processes that require a stable hydrogen throughput. But if you are building your green hydrogen production from wind and solar are not stable inputs. So you want to match an output that is very steady and stable with inputs that are absolutely not steady and stable. So the first inefficiency is in order to do that, some people will just oversize the input so that when you have that level of wind and solar to deliver on that level of output, you're sure you will achieve it, but you have all of that, which are sometimes unused or poorly used. So that's where the inefficiency comes from. And so that inefficiency is both from a planning standpoint. So how do you address this imbalance between the profile and as an input and the profile as an output? And also how do you manage it on a day-to-day basis?
Right. So your product is basically building a sort of a software solution using real-time data input you're collecting, I believe, with different sensors through hardware, software, sensors, and other kind of data points. Then you process it in real time, then give them kind of suggestions how to optimize in real time. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are your ideal customers? Is it private sector, like a green hydrogen production company, or public sectors?
Production, but also we work with the entire value chain, because when you produce green hydrogen, until you sell it, you still have challenges on maintaining the green characteristics of the hydrogen that you produced. So we also work for transportation and distribution actors, operators, and indeed we work with the operators of these infrastructures. So operators of green hydrogen production, of green hydrogen transportation and distribution, whether they are public or private or semi-public, semi-private, this does not matter to us. And actually, because of the risks around hydrogen markets and technology, often you have joint ventures between the public sector and the private sector in order to balance the financial risk around the infrastructure. And we also work for renewable company that want to work with green hydrogen and that want to integrate the possibility of selling to green hydrogen in order to balance their production risks as well. So really the idea is to work throughout the chain of green hydrogen production, storage, transportation, distribution, with the same approach, which is a software approach where we gather real-time data and we offer optimal management of the infrastructure in line with the regulatory constraints around it.
Okay, here comes the most intriguing question today that I have in mind since the first time I saw your file. You said you have raised the 5 million before as an entrepreneur. So you actually thought this time around you're going to be able to raise fund as easily, but it turned out not so. So what misconceptions do founders often have about fundraising per your view, and what would you do differently now?
Yeah, also to just, so this was 5 million in pre-seed. So pre-seed, you have a concept, the beginning of a product, you have a team, you know what market you want to address, you spoke with customers. So what you bring to an investor at pre-seed is still a belief or the best perception you can have of your team, your product, your concept, the value of your concept and your market. And indeed, when we raised so that was my previous company, when we raised, we were solidly believing that we had a solid team, we had a great concept, we had a splendid product, the market was great, and we rapidly found investors who trusted us and who gave us a lot of millions. And so creating that new company, I came with what I thought was a great team, a great product, a great concept, which I was elaborating upon, a great market, because there are still a lot of regulations and we know that we need to address climate change, and all know that without green hydrogen, it's not going to be possible. And I didn't get the same answer from the market. And so what I didn't get is that there were fashions for, so it was a very fashionable industry, the venture capital industry. So they go through trends, and when they are in a trend, they look at the trend, they study, they make their research, and within that trend, they want to invest in the best company within that trend. And after they switch to another trend, and they do also their research of what could be the best companies that could offer them some returns within that trend. But so if you're outside of the trend that they are currently looking into, it becomes very hard to be heard because you're not just in their process.
I know that you also mentioned one of your key success habits is called constraint-driven innovation. Can you break that down for us and share one or some examples where this mindset helped Hyggle push forward?
Yeah, and it's back to that fundraising, that 5 million fundraising. In fact, when we raised, then we wanted to raise 1 million because 1 million we thought was the right amount to take us to the next level, because you always want to go to the next level. And the investors said, "You're not ambitious enough. We'll give you 5 million." Okay. And in fact, I don't think that 5 million served me, at least, because I think if we would have raised 1 million, this would have been more constraints, but we would have focused on what was really important for us to focus. And this is a basic rule in business, whatever you're doing, if you're in a multinational or so, focus is like 101 thing you learn in strategy. And I think having too much money defocused us somehow, and that did not help in the end. So here at Hyggle, in fact, we had it's complicated, but we still had the possibility to raise in pre-seed. And eventually, we decided to move forward without raising, because we still thought that we could go to the next level by being super focused on delivering the exact minimum functionality we saw for the customers we had been engaged with. But in the end, I think the fact that we decided not to raise and to be super focused forced us to really look at the true problem, really forced us to do super efficient things. And again, this is a little bit the story with DeepSeek. You know, they were constrained in terms of material, in terms of GPU, and that forced them to do things differently. And the same thing, we had to do some forecasting, which we had done in the past with Bayesian approach combined with blah, blah, blah. And then because of the constraint, we said, hey, let's look at the problem, let's break it down. Yeah, in fact, what we really need to do is that. To do that, in fact, there is really the tool that can address that. And then, yeah, that works. So, yeah, I think this is pretty much down to forcing us to be focused, looking at what really matters from a customer standpoint, and in terms of execution, forcing us to be efficient. And I think this is what, in general, businesses should do.
There is huge respect from me, because not every entrepreneur has the courage to say no to money. When investors say, I'm going to 5 million, not everyone say, no, I only want 1 million from you. So that's very disciplined approach, actually. So last question today. If you had to build Hyggle from scratch today, again, with no funding, what would you be your first 3 steps?
Yeah, so step number 1, I think this is what you hear a lot as an advice to startups: talk to customer. And I think sometimes when you've been in a topic for quite so long, you assume what the answer is from the customers. But in fact, when you start a company, you start something new, and you need to ask your customers what they really want from the perspective that you're building this company and that you're no longer part of the other company. So that's number 1. The second thing is, beyond talking to customers, is prototyping things. And indeed, prototyping things, it's not even functionalities, but it's something that you can show that portrays an idea of what you want to achieve. And it's not a MVP. It's even like low tech than that. It's really the very minimum thing you can build beyond just talking, but something that you can show that really gives a good idea of what you want to achieve, and check with the customers that this is really what they want, and that will help them also think, that I like, that I don't like, I think you could do that. So yeah, that is this concrete stuff. So I'm not talking about what I have behind me. So what I have behind me is a conceptual representation of what we want to achieve. That doesn't help a customer to react. This is for investors, but something towards customers helps think and criticize the approach. And the third thing is around the team. I think it's setting up the basic rules that will help you survive throughout everything that can happen in the next 2 years. So just thinking of the next 2 years and thinking of all the good and bad things that can happen, and forging the very minimum rules that you all adhere to, that you all feel okay with, and that will help you survive those next 2 years. So, for example, in the company at Hyggle, we had to cut our salaries. We had to discuss about the share. If someone in the team has a very young kid with some difficulties with the mother, so he could have decided that that would be his number one focus, and he had to leave the company. So thinking of all these situations, the good things and the bad things that can happen, and saying, so how I want to address it, because if you don't know how to address it when you're in the difficult situation, sometimes it can be too late to react, and then you're stuck into something and you cannot move forward. These are my 3 pieces of advice. So to recap, talk to the customers, start building something that can help a customer sharing some feedback with you, and build the minimum viable principles that can drive your team for the next 2 years throughout the good and bad things.
Thank you so much for those solid advice. Thank you so much today for being here, Laurence. I appreciate all the stories, experience you have shared with us. I'm sure our founder community will learn a lot today from you.
Oh, I hope so. But thank you very much, Carol. Thank you for the invitation, and good luck to everyone. It's tricky to be an entrepreneur, but let's not give up.
Definitely keep rocking and all the best for your endeavor.